All right, we're back. We got a lot to do before we take you to the game pregame at 4:30. You'll hear Joe Girardi in just a minute. We'll go to his press conference as soon as we get there. And again, 3 hours to the pregame and all the action right here on the Fan at 5:05. So if you're driving home, just keep it on the Fan. You go right from us right to the pregame, right to the game. And when you get home, you can see some of the game today. It starts at 5 o'clock as Tanaka and Keuchel will battle to see who will go back to Houston with a 3-2 lead. Obviously, prevailing wisdom is the Yankees have to do that. Otherwise, it's very, very tough to go there and win 2 games in a row. But it can be done. Hey, at 2-2. Once take a series to 2-2, it is anybody's series. And that's where we are right now. This series right now, the extra game in Houston, no question, not a big factor. The bigger factor, they have 2 starting pitchers who are very hard to beat the next 2 days, and that's what it's about. And can they rev up their offense at all? Their offense has been unbelievably bad in this series. Paul starts us off. What's up, Paul?
Hello?
Yeah, Paul, go ahead.
Hey, Mike. I got a question for you. What are your thoughts on this? Bottom of the 8th, Judge doesn't hit the home run. The double. In a weird way, I actually feel like that was the better outcome, and I'll tell you why. Didi comes up after that, gets the single, and then Sanchez, who I feel is really, aside from Judge, needed the most, out of his at-bats here. He hasn't really done anything. You couldn't have had a better stage set for him, where he had runners on first and second. Joe pulls the hit and run, and if that double had to do so much for his confidence. So, in my opinion, if he hits the home run, Yanks are up 5-4, and who knows what Didi does, Sanchez after that.
You know what? I'm not worried about it either way. I would have taken either outcome and been fine.
Definitely,
what?
I almost feel like
I wasn't either way. To me, you know what? At that point, I think it's about whether you got a defense. If right away, can you put a bullpen on its heels? See, a bullpen either comes out and puts you on your heels, or you put it on its heels. And right away, in these postseason games, it usually isn't one or the other. It usually isn't half and half. It's either put a bullpen on. A bullpen comes in and puts you on your heels, or you put it on its heels. And they put their bullpen on its heels as soon as they came out of that bullpen.
Right,
and that changes everything. And listen, and I thought Hinch had a shaky game, but it's funny. All these fans and have been taking calls throughout this whole series. Get Judge out of there. Do this with Sanchez. You leave these guys alone because of who they are, okay? Yesterday, Judge had enormous at-bats in this game. His home run started that it ignited that whole thing because it woke that stadium up. And it did something that it probably shouldn't have done. It got McCullers out of the game, and the Yankees hadn't touched McCullers. They hadn't done anything. Before Judge got in the box on that at-bat, they had 1 hit in 6 innings. And he pulled them after that. Now, listen, he's going to tell you, I know my pitcher. He's been fragile. He already gave me 80 pitches, and he might be right. But I'd have to see, considering his pen, and he's got a lot more confidence in his pen than I do because I have none in his pen. So I don't want to go in his pen. And he was quick to his pen. I would have wanted to see more out of McCullers if it's me, because he had pitched so well. So what? Judge got one and caught it. He's capable of doing that. It happens. And thanks for the call. He's capable of doing that against anybody. So the fact that he just catches one doesn't tell me that the pitcher doesn't have it anymore. And that pitcher had been so good, and I'm leery about getting in my pen for 9 outs. And it was a big difference. Their pen's not equipped to give anybody 9 outs. And I've told you throughout the series, since game 1, that I thought this pen was suspect. And it's even turned out to be more suspect than I thought. John in Brooklyn, what's up, John?
Hey, Mike, how are you today, Mike?
Good. What's happening?
I want to give a special thanks out to Mr. Hinch for taking McCullers out. To me, the guy looked strong. To me, he gave up a home run to a home run hitter who was in an unforgiving ballpark.
You know what? We don't know what would have happened to the next hitter. Maybe the next hitter hits a line drive base hit and then he's exhausted. Maybe he was exhausted. I don't know. But I would have liked to see him, if I'm the manager, I wanted to see him throw to at least one more hitter before I got into that pen. Now, he's going to tell you, I've been in my pen all year, and I know what I'm doing with my pen, except his pen didn't come in and do anything right. So he's got to prove that his pen can get outs, and he asked his pen to get 9 outs last night. That's a lot.
Well, I agree, because, McCullers was he was throwing 94 miles an hour.
Yeah, but he has not pitched. To be fair to Hinch, he has not pitched more than 5 innings in 3 months.
Okay.
So,
fine.
I mean, so that's why you got to at least be fair to Hinch there. It's not like a guy who was pitching 7 innings and 8 innings every game. He had been hurt. He has been on the disabled list twice. He hadn't pitched at all in August. He had only pitched 3 times in September. So I got to be fair there. I got to be fair there. Listen, I got to be fair. It's not a no-brainer because he probably wasn't even expecting to get 6 innings out of McCullers. So, but the way he was throwing, I would have looked at another batter at least, giving him at least one more to see him. Let somebody else hit one more, and thanks for the call, one more line drive. But you know what? Again, when the pitcher comes out of the pen and gets hit hard, the caller is always going to say, why didn't you take him out? Why did you take him out? Because it's obvious. Here's Joe Girardi.
Hey, Joe, I know that this is a bit of a cliche in sports, but given the way you've won games 3 and 4 in different ways, do you sense there's a momentum shift in this series?
Well, I've always said the momentum starts with your starting pitcher. And how well they do. I mean, I think, both teams were probably extremely confident coming into the series, considering what they've done all season, what we've done during the season, to be able to come back 0-2 on Cleveland. I think there was a lot of confidence. Even when we were down here, our guys believed in themselves. So I really believe the momentum depends on your pitcher.
Other questions? Ken?
Joe, when you took Severino out in Game 2, you mentioned the number of innings he's thrown. How much is that still governing your decisions with him the rest of the way here?
Well, I think that going into Game 6, obviously, it's going to be an important game one way or another. So I feel good about where he's at. My concern was coming off, I think it was 113 pitches, the amount of innings. I was concerned when people said, hey, he looks a little different. But those concerns have kind of been put to rest for me. I believe he's doing his bullpen today, and everything was good. So I feel pretty good about where he's at.
I think Tara has a question right behind.
Joe, you've talked a lot about some of your younger players on an individual basis. As a group, what do you attribute kind of just how they've been able to respond? What has allowed them maybe to, not find these playoff moments too big, and then also just the value for them, whether or not, however far you go in this playoffs, just the value for them as young players, Judge, Sanchez, Didi, those guys, Severino, going forward, the value.
I think it starts with probably their personality and their character more than, a lot of other things. But I think some of it has to do with the great job that our minor league system did in identifying players, in the draft or signability who could handle New York. I give them a lot of credit in the way they've raised them, and they've went through these times down where there's expectations down there, and there's a captain's camp, and all the things that they do to prepare them as much as you can. I also give our veterans a lot of credit for accepting them for who they are and allowing them to be themselves and continuing to show belief in them like, we have. Because sometimes, for a veteran, when a young kid's pushing you and pushing you out, it can be difficult. But our guys have embraced them, and I give them a lot of credit. But I think our players are mentally strong. The young kids that we have are mentally strong and are handling the situation pretty well.
The value for them going forward?
Oh, I think it's huge to get in these type of series. I mean, being down 0-2 to Cleveland and being able to come back probably helped us coming here being down 0-2. I'm not sure what would have happened had we not went through that experience. So, I think their experiences every day helps them.
To your right, Joe. Wally.
Joe, obviously, Judge had a great game at the plate yesterday, but sometimes some other aspects of his game get overlooked. What does it say to you about him that he had the presence of mind to actually back up that rundown and make the tag?
I've talked about it all year long that he is not just a hitter. He's a complete player. He's a great defender. He's a great base runner. And he does so many things right at an early age on a big stage, and just the way he handles all the attention simply amazes me. I mean, it's as good as it gets, but he understands that little things win you games. and he talks about sometimes it can be a defensive play, but to me, it's the right mindset. It's not a selfish attitude or feeling sorry for yourself that maybe you're struggling offensively. It's just doing the right thing. And again, that goes back to our minor league system, the way they've raised him. And it also, Rob Thompson, he stays on these guys all the time and makes sure they're in the right place and they're ready to go.
Lauren in the fifth row to your right, Joe.
Joe, Keuchel lives on the corners and doesn't miss his spots. Now seeing him again, is there something you've seen to adjust to that late movement?
Well, I mean, our guys have seen him, and, I taught in some of my other pregame. Dallas Keuchel doesn't lay very many eggs. He just doesn't. So when he makes a mistake, you better take advantage of it, because he made a few of the last start, and we missed them. We had the one opportunity to score. We get a player thrown out at home. To beat him, we have to be close to perfect, and we have to play a little bit better and not miss pitches, and you go from there.
Ron in your first row.
Do you think the performance this season and this postseason have raised expectations from the fan base in terms of next year and the year after?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it has, and that's a good thing.
Is that more of a burden going forward?
No, I mean, you worry about that next year, and you prepare the players for it next year, but I don't think so. It's better than the alternative.
Directly to your right, Joe.
Joe, when you sit down and try to figure out how you're going to attack Keuchel this time around, is there anything that you can draw from the way you came back against Bauer in the division series, or are they just two separate cases?
They're two different pitchers. But, again, confidence is always an important thing. And you might look at it and say, the second time around, we were better. I think we can do it again today. But, again, it's going to depend on Dallas Keuchel and how many mistakes he makes. And it's going to depend on our hitters if we miss them.
Anything else for Joe? We'll take one from Ian.
Joe, you said last night that you've seen some things from the crowd that you haven't seen in a while. What specifically did you see or experience that just felt different?
Well, the jumping up and down in the stands, in the outfield, people standing the whole time, the pounding on the pads in the outfield, the liquids flying in the stands. Those are good memories for me. And I got a chance to see it a lot as a player and other times. And, I sit there, and when I see it, I smile. Because I appreciate what our fans are doing, and I think they're a big part of this, and the feeling that they're giving our players inside, it's pretty special.
One last one for Joe. I'll finish up to your left, Joe. David.
Joe, advanced scouting is obviously huge. How many people did you have watching the Astros coming into the series? And, did you really gain any more from advanced scouting in this series than you had normally?
Oh, I think you always gain from advanced scouting. And they sit and watch clubs a long time, because you start evaluating in late August, early September, who could we possibly see? So you got to send teams out everywhere. And there are guys that went for weeks and weeks at a time, and then maybe it came that we didn't even see that team. So our guys do a tremendous job. They spend a ton of time out on the road, and we applaud them for it. They're following teams for 3 and 4 weeks, and it helps.
Thanks very much, Joe. Appreciate it.
There's Joe Girardi. One thing to remember when you hear these press conferences, sometimes the questions seem like they're from left field or don't have anything to do with the game or that day's game. It's because a lot of those reporters in there are writing sidebar stuff that is a day advance, like stuff that'll be in the Mars paper around the country or other days, and they might be working on a story that is just kind of a sidebar story or something that's a feature that is going to go for the weekend or something like that, and they're just getting information for that they use in the postseason. That's why the questions don't always pertain. The after the game ones are always about that night's game or the next day's game. Those during the day are sometimes about different things, like the one there about the advanced scouting and stuff like that. That could be for a feature on the weekend or something like that. So that's why they don't always add up Joe talked about, though, the atmosphere, talked about his young team, and clearly, they have a lot of that going on right now, and that's what happens when you're young and you're going through it for the first time, and they got a bunch of guys who haven't gone through it for the first time. Plus, most of the Yankee fan base, especially the ones who have been here for a while, they haven't seen these guys go through that. Very few of these guys have been in the postseason, and then you have new additions. Clearly, Frazier is very prominent in this. First of all, he's had a very good series. Secondly, he's in the middle of all this stuff. He's kind of become the cheerleader for the team. He really has. He's very visible. He's out on top of the railing. He's always out there greeting each guy. He's kind of become the official. He's kind of taken Jeter's job as the official greeter. Remember, in the playoffs, Jeter always would be the official greeter during the playoffs. He'd always jump over the rail and come greet whoever had a big hit. So Frazier's really become like the official greeter and stuff too. So he's kind of become the in that regard the cheerleader of this team. Plus, to be fair, he's had a very good series. He really has. He's played very well. He's hit well in this series. He's hit 300 in a series where very few guys have hit 300, and now all of a sudden Judge is hitting 300 in the series, so it just shows you how one game can make a very big difference when you're only talking about 4 games, and this is game number 5 coming up. You'll hear from Hinch, who usually gives you nothing in these things, and he's gotten a little more testy as each one of these games is going on, I feel too, so we'll see how he is today in a little while. We got a lot more to do, and we'll get it all going right after that.